Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Coyle. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this beautiful day from high atop the 18th fairway at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Wednesday, Hump Day, March 8th. Don't forget, Indiana Sports Beat Radio is powered by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, where you get the best in new and used vehicles. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door than AndyMooreHonda.com. Also, the great family of restaurants in and around Bloomington, like BB's Market, Southern Stone, Feast, and many, many more that you'll hear about, like Hank's Pizza Mac. The newest and the latest and the greatest. Hank's Pizza Mac. You can stop by. It's the former Wagon Wheel in Bloomington, but now offering a larger array of things. You can see Hank in and around town. Look at that.
I love Hank.
Hank has got he's a cool mascot. Well, the bison. Come on, focus in, man. It takes a minute to. There we go. The bison is the unofficial mascot of Indiana, the state, right, for example. And people don't understand that. This used to be the West, man. Considered the West, at least. But it was covered with buffalo. I'm sorry.
Oh, you
Damn
did
it.
You did it. Oh, no.
Covered with bison. Covered with bison. No such thing as American buffalo. Covered with bison, yeah, around here. But it's if you go around the state, you'll see bison and for all over the place. Like the steakhouse on the way out, when you're going towards Illinois. The cattle, whatever it was, the Cattleman's or something, I forget. We always stop there on the way to the Illinois game.
No, the Beef House.
Beef House.
Cattle.
I forget. There's all kinds of, they've got a bison out in front of there. There's one down in Bedford.
Can I just say, while you mentioned it, the Beef House,
overrated.
Yes, thank you. It is
overrated.
It is overrated. If you want to go there for the rolls, I get it. Look, the rolls are good. The salad bar, people rave about the salad bar. It's not that great. It's like the Pizza Hut salad bar. And then the steak, I was like, this is okay. I would never stop there ever. If people wanted to go there, I would go, but I am not personally driving my car there.
Well, here's the thing. You stop there because there's nothing else in between where you're going.
I would
stop at McDonald's. And yes, I will no longer make. I don't want to. There's no point in people that want to stop there. Please feel free to stop there. Hey, how's everybody doing? Hope you're having a great day. We've made the halfway point of the week. Great show as always. On Wednesday, Dustin's here with us. So that makes it good to start with. Bob Kravitz, the man from The Athletic, will join us. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star and the Hall of Famer, Rick Bozich. So it's a full lineup. Lots to get to. Some out in the world of sports. Chase Elliott, for NASCAR fans, out at least 6 weeks after a snowboarding accident. So you talk about NASCAR being dangerous. If you notice those guys, the safety is pretty damn good in those things now.
Yeah.
The one injury that they're still working on is concussions. And I don't know how you're ever going to stop that when you're going 190 miles an hour. And if you come to a complete stop, there's nothing that's going to stop the forward motion of your brain.
I don't know how they're going to address that either. And we've seen Kurt Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr. have retired early because of situations like that. I'm guessing we're probably going to see. I would guess I shouldn't say the lifespan. The career of a NASCAR driver is probably going to be shorter than what we were used to in like the 80s, 90s, 2000s. You don't think so?
Yes, but not because of that. I think just because they keep going young, and they're just going to keep regurgitating guys out. Look at this. We talked about this already, but look at the freaking ages of some of these guys. It's like, damn. See, Denny Hamlin. You've got Denny Hamlin,
Chase Elliott,
Harvick, Chase Elliott's ass, Harvick, the Bushes, the two Bushes.
Right. Well, Kurt's retired now, so.
Well, yeah, all right. So you just got the one Bush. He's the eldest. He's one of the elder statesmen. Think about that. He's one of the oldest veterans in NASCAR now.
I thought you were talking about. I thought you were going to bring up the young guns.
Well, no, I'm saying once those guys get out, who the hell's left?
Right. That's a good question. But I mean, there's a ton of young talent. Like even Ty Gibbs stepped in at the end of last season.
He's a dirty little.
Okay, but he's still, 20, 19, 20? I don't know his age. 19 or 20.
He's kind of talented, but boy. The Ravens franchise Lamar Jackson. Now he is able to negotiate with other teams, though. And the Ravens will have the opportunity to match anything that is offered to them. And if not, they get 2 first-round draft picks if he is to go anywhere. But
and what's going to,
he's eyeballing that. Deshaun Watson has a 5-year, $230 million contract. Of all people, Deshaun Watson, who hasn't done jack squat. What the hell has he done?
Well, I mean, not anything good on or off the field.
Exactly. He's done nothing great on the field, and he's been a horrific nightmare off of the field. Lamar Jackson, on the other hand, has been talked about as player of the year and has been a model citizen. So, yeah, you think he ain't going to get paid? Come on, man. Heisman Trophy winner.
I feel like the dispute was mostly that he wanted the full contract guaranteed, and Baltimore didn't want to give him that. So it's going to be interesting because I've heard rumors that if they use the franchise tag and he's not happy with the potential long-term contract, he might sit out. Yep. So then Baltimore has to make a decision. Do we let him walk or do we appease him? I don't know.
If they let him walk, it's stupid. He is.
I don't disagree with you.
He's given them everything that they want.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. It's just going to be an interesting scenario because especially that would mean you'd have to probably draft a quarterback in this year's draft class, and I don't know who you'd like. We can talk about Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, but they're going to be Will Levis. I mean, I don't know that you're going to find anybody even close to the talent of Lamar Jackson, especially with this quarterback class. So they're going to have to figure something out. It will be interesting, but if he walks, man, who are they like? Are you going to try to bring in Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't know what the backup plan is here. So we'll see. It'll be it. But the Colts should pick up the phone and call. Why not, right?
No.
What do you mean no?
Oh, for Lamar Jackson?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You got nothing to lose here.
Well,
nothing to lose.
Yeah. That would be, and they have the first round picks to do it.
Right.
I believe. So, and they could still use their first round. I don't know. Oh, well, that's enough of that. Gonzaga wins another West Coast Conference title. Woo!
That's shocking.
Yes. But they beat St. Mary's. Was it 77-57? What was the score?
Which was the They were St. Mary's was the 1 seed, weren't they?
No, there's no way they were the 1 seed over Gonzaga, were they?
I thought that they were. I thought that was the glitch in the matrix, if you will. I'm going to bring it up right now. They won 77-51. They were both 14-2. I thought, okay, so one of them, they had the same record. One of them, obviously, they were the top 2 seeds. I thought St. Mary's was the 1 seed, but I could be mistaken in that.
I would have been surprised, but either way, St. Mary's is a team that has been hanging around in that same area that Indiana is on the seed lines. So seeing them get their butts handed to them probably helps Indiana a little bit.
Right.
But Indiana's goal is to wind up in, well, that's not true. Jim's goal for Indiana is for them to wind up in Orlando.
Yeah, that's true.
In Louisville.
Indiana doesn't. Well, let me rephrase that. Indiana would like to be in Louisville or maybe Kansas City, but they ultimately don't care. They just want to go play. Jim very much wants Orlando and Louisville.
Well, I'll tell you right now, they'll be in one of those two.
Yeah,
they will wind up in either Kansas City or Louisville. Now, the Kansas City is not horrific. It damn sure is not Portland. That is drivable. That is, that's within the realm of reason.
That's a day trip.
Yeah, easy, nice one. You can visit St. Louis along the way. Go up in the arch.
There you go.
But it's going to be, yeah. But last year they screwed themselves with that first 4 in stuff. So regardless, they should be okay. It's just how they end up. Then we don't forget the women. The women are going to be in Bloomington for the first rounds that same weekend, which is a week from this weekend. I don't know if they begin play on.
I believe the women
Wednesday or Thursday or.
I believe the women, John. Maybe you can look this up. I don't have it in front of me. I believe the women's tournament goes Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because I think it's off a little bit scattered from the men, so they can get.
Well,
it's something like that, or maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I know that they used to play Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday.
Yes, but the first 2 rounds are not. They're all on weekends, which is stupid.
The women, the first 4 for the women. Hold on, this is for the women. Are Wednesday and Thursday, March 15th and 16th. And the first round is Friday and Saturday, the 17th and the 18th.
So then Sunday, Monday.
Wait a minute. What's 15th and 16th? That's not the first round then.
The first 4, like the opening games.
Oh, they have a first 4 in too, or last 4 in, or the play-in games.
Evidently,
they might have changed that.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Look at you learning on a Tuesday. What day is today? Wednesday. On a Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is.
On a Wednesday, on a Monday. Yeah. We got to take a quick break. We got so much to talk to and so many people to talk with about. Bob Kravitz is up with us. He'll be up with us soon. And Cal Neddenriep, Rick Bozich as well. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the great folks from BB's Market, your butcher baker, no matter where you live, located on South College in Bloomington. The greatest in custom meats, full-size bakery. And I'm telling you, from experience, it's just all good. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's
That's right.
Now he
That's right.
Now he wants Kansas City.
Well, I had Whataburger in Kansas City when we went to the Kansas game.
I know. And
Good
now
morning, Mr. Kravitz.
Morning.
Welcome to the Freak Show.
Yeah, it sounds that way. Whataburger.
Whataburger, baby.
Have you ever joined this show and Jim not talk about Whataburger, Bob?
It's always some kind of fast food. I know that.
That is not true. I'm not Donald Trump here.
God knows. Thank God for that.
Whataburger is just one of my.
In-N-Out's good.
No,
I've
it's
never-
not.
I've
Bullshit.
never
I
had
had
either.
In-N-Out one time when I was in Texas, and I was underwhelmed.
Where are you?
In-N-Out is crap.
I've had neither.
But your body's a temple.
Now I've lost my.
It is far from that.
I've lost my Whataburger hat.
We believe you.
Anyway, I had one. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Are we on?
We're not live
we're
yet. No.
we're
We're
on
in
the break.
Oh, break. Okay.
We're in the break.
I never know.
swearing
I
is
always-
allowed
I always
for the
have to
next-
guess.
Yep.
I know.
Curse words are fine for the next minute and a half if you slip anything up, Bob.
Hey, before we go live, have either one of you seen the PGA Tour's video from the amateurs taking on the 17th hole?
No.
Okay, I'm going to bring this up.
Okay.
It's a little trivia. I guess. Well, I don't know if trivia is the right word, but since we're all
Well,
golf fans here.
I had a big Jackson Davis story today. If you want to talk about it at all.
Well, what's exactly what we'll talk about? Let me
All right.
get that pulled up over at the Athletic. I'm already got. See it.
Jim
Pull my
says,
Athletic.
hell yeah.
Hey man, that's what we're here
Bring me
for.
the Indiana basketball content. Give
No,
it to
bring
me.
me-
Deliver it to me.
Bring me Bob's content, man. That's
Yeah,
why we're
right.
here.
Who does IU play in the first game, by the way?
Either
The winner between Maryland, Nebraska, and
Nebraska.
Minnesota, whoever comes out of that little
Thanks.
section.
Let's see. There's not who you're following here.
All right, 20 seconds.
With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious, 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Mid part of the week, we've made it, and we've got the first of the greatness. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic joins us. Robert, how are you, sir?
I'm fabulous. How are you guys?
Cannot complain. It's tournament time. It's just that's like coffee in the veins, baby.
Yeah, well, I gotta love it. And you got two teams that got a chance to do something, so that's exciting.
3, really.
Who's the third?
Indiana women's team.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking just men. Sorry, being a sexist. You're right.
Actually, the women's team, the Indiana women's team, probably has the shot to do the most.
Yeah. And losing to Ohio State may not have been the worst thing for them.
Yeah, it's not with a 23-point lead. That's
No, that was unbelievable. But sometimes losing before you go into the tournament kind of puts a fire under your behind,
I can tell you that I all I had to do was watch. Grace Berger is not somebody who talks anyway. She's very, very meek, and I could see how pissed off she was.
Good.
I mean, this is someone who does not show emotion ever of any kind, good, bad, there, other. It seemed like it was coming out of her pores.
Yeah.
At the presser. It really, I mean, the disappointment that and I think you're right for this team. I think they're a team that can use that mentally to focus in the right way. Some wouldn't, but women are smarter than men.
I hope so, because they are Final Four worthy without question.
They lost more games in their last 2 games than they did all season long. So you would think, I mean, it took a Caitlin Clark buzzer beater to hand them their second loss of the season. So
Correct.
that
And
was
a stupid rule in women's basketball.
I'll move
and-
the ball up. Half.
and
Yeah.
the NBA, yeah.
And the, right.
The men's get started in the Big Ten tournament. Well, actually, everything is on. Some have already started, but the Big Ten tournament gets started underway today. Indiana, of course, does not play until Friday. Bob's got another great piece out. This one on Trace Jackson Davis. Trace Jackson Davis goes from good to better to great, and Indiana soars with him. He has, since that period this winter, whatever you want to call, I keep calling it the line of demarcation, because there was a line of demarcation for this team to where they turned and everything was better since then, except for these last 6 games. They were kind of wishy-washy, but other than that, they've been pretty solid since then.
Yeah, they've been good. I mean, for me, the line of demarcation goes back even further to the second half against Michigan. You know, I thought for Trace, who had been playing well down the stretch, but that game and then the rest of the season, such as it was, I thought he was terrific. And you're right, for Indiana basketball generally, once they got off of that bad start in the Big Ten, what was it, 1-4? They've just been dynamic. And, I feel bad for Xavier Johnson, but I think this is the best thing that could have happened, because trying to get him back into the lineup somehow would have been really, really difficult, especially with Jalen Hood-Schifino pretty much taking over that point guard spot.
But more importantly, Bob, I think that what that does for Mike Woodson and next year, that takes off an enormous load for him to have to go out and find a veteran point guard next year, because he would not have had that. He would have had Gabe Cupps coming in as a freshman or whatever,
right.
And Trey Galloway. That freshman guards don't work unless they're Jalen Hood-Schifino, and I don't think Gabe Cupps,
or they're at Purdue.
Exactly. So this gives that takes that off the board. He didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, he's
now
still gonna have to go out and get some guys now. I mean, he's still gonna have to go out and get some guys,
yes, but he can. That's what I'm saying. His focus can now be focused there and there only. But the point guard is that's your quarterback,
right.
And so now he's got his quarterback.
For
next year,
we don't know that for sure. I mean,
well, that's true, and I mentioned that yesterday.
He's gonna try and get the waiver, but from what I understand, he's right on the edge in terms of games played.
Well, here's what it is. It's a 10-game limit. He played 11, but that 11th game was like 9 minutes.
Still,
he played and he got hurt. I know, but he did not play 11 complete games. I don't know. They're gonna, but with the NCAA, you have no idea.
I have no idea. I mean, if you're really all about the student, about the student athlete, if you're really about them, then let them play. But
I mentioned the story yesterday of Brian Fitzgerald a few years ago, the football player for Indiana, who Indiana failed to send in a document that was supposed to have been sent in. And because they forgot to send that in on this particular day, he had to sit for an entire year.
That's absurd. I didn't know.
It is absurd. It is crazy. But yes, that's true. But that was the NCAA then. I think that with all these changes, they've got so much going on. This is the least of their worries. They're not going to worry about somebody going 9 minutes over a deal, I think.
Well, we'll find out. But I'm really excited about this postseason. I want to see Trace just take it to another level. And I thought he played great against Hunter Dickinson, 27-9.
He did.
And those big burly centers don't give him the same trouble that they did in previous years. And if you get a chance, check out The Athletic. And I think I've got some stuff in there. Maybe people knew, maybe people didn't know. He was very clear with me. The only reason he came back this year is because he got COVID right before the combine. So it was really a blessing in disguise for him.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's a great piece. Make sure you pull it up at the Athletic. Bob's piece on Trace Jackson Davis today, talking about him coming back and how this season could be so different. If he was not here, I don't know what this season would be like for Indiana. It would not be what it is.
They'd finish 9th in the Big Ten without him. Come on.
You think they could finish that high?
Exactly. Excuse my voice. Sorry, it's morning voice. He's been as dominant for his team as anybody outside of Zach Edey.
Well, and I was curious to get your thoughts too on this. It seemed like it was a no-brainer that Zach Edey won Big Ten Player of the Year. There was no surprise, but I disagree
with that. That it's
no. Hold on. I'm not saying I thought it was a no-brainer.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying I think a lot of people thought it was a no-brainer. But I thought when you look at the way Trace Jackson Davis played in those final, I don't know, since January, so the final 2.5 months or so, right. I thought he was the best player in the Big Ten, and that's not taking anything away from Zach Edey. I mean, he has a pedestrian day, and it's 18 and 15. Right. But I thought that the way Trace Jackson Davis could dominate games, the way he's so athletic. Maybe the way Indiana finished with, that roller coaster win-loss, those final 6 games, maybe that played a role. But I thought for a majority of the season, he was the best player in the Big Ten.
Well, you have to look at the totality of the season. And I don't think that Edey is a no-brainer player of the year. I thought that Trace really closed the gap as the season wore on. But if I had a vote, and I don't vote on anything, but if I had a vote, it would be Edey with Trace a close second.
In the Big Ten, for me, it's a co. I think they're both co-players of the year in the Big Ten, just because of how I think that Trace Jackson Davis did end up doing more, but he had that span where he didn't. So it ended up costing him.
And Edey's been consistent. I mean, every game he's putting up the numbers, and it's not like he's surrounded by greatness.
That's why they're not going to win, in my opinion.
Right? Yeah. IU's got 2 pros, Jackson Davis and Hood Schifino. Purdue's got 1, and even then, I think he's a low second-round pick because of his style of play and the fact the NBA, 20 years ago, he'd have been a top 5 pick. But the game has changed so significantly that I don't think a guy like Zach Edey, maybe he's a bench guy for you. You can block some shots. You can do some things around the rim. But no, I still think they made the right call. But, as far as the postseason, I still think Indiana is going to go further than Purdue. We'll see if I'm right.
Oh, Brian Buck, we love you. Love you too, man. Appreciate you.
I think I said this a few weeks ago when you made that comment initially. I agree and disagree. I think.
Way to waffle there, Dustin.
Right. I'm really making a bold claim. Really
Way to climb out on the limb there.
Here's this. Okay, so my concern with Purdue is how it is every year. That when you get into the postseason, their guards haven't outside of the year they had Carson.
Do you mean
Edwards.
the fact that in 120 years of basketball, they've only been to 2 Final Fours? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean.
Oh, okay.
Outside of having Carson Edwards, their guards have not really been elite, and you have to be good at the guard position to win in March. And I feel like people can figure out whether they figure out a way to defend or neutralize the biggest guy on the floor. St. Peter's did it last year with Edey. Other teams have figured out ways to neutralize the big guy. So those are my concerns with Purdue. For Indiana, that team is tired and they don't have a bench. So if they get into a situation where they have to go toe for toe or in the overtime, I think that they can win the first round, but that second round game, they get nothing from their bench.
Are you talking about Indiana now?
Yes. That is my concern for Indiana.
But they're off until Friday.
Oh, well, that has nothing to do with the NCAA tournament. They have to play 2 games in 3 days.
They're going to be rested. 2 games in 3 days is easy once you get to that point. You've got the week off in between.
You can't get 4 points from your bench and win in March. That's my opinion.
Absolutely
and
not.
That's what they're
I
getting.
agree with that. Well, you're right, and Bob, he's right. Their bench has been depleted. Geronimo has been on and off the injury list. Tamar Bates is just
hasn't hit a
not
shot since July.
Yeah.
Feels
So the starters, and even the starters, they cannot get consistency from Miller Kopp. I mean, shoot the damn ball. He's freaking 46%, but doesn't put up shots. At least Trey Galloway will put some shots up. But Miller Kopp has to try to put more shots up, in my opinion. He has the opportunity. People say that they don't work set shot. Bull crap. He's 6'7". Put yourself in a position where when you catch the ball, you're in a range to be able to shoot the ball and go up and shoot over a guy. You're 6'7". But that's neither here nor there. But I think that's what this team will have to do to win. You cannot two-man this thing.
No.
Past everybody.
They need somebody. You think about the Butler runs, and I remember, was it Smith came off the bench against Kansas State, a really good Kansas State team, and played lights out. And you've got to have somebody that you don't expect come out and give you 10, 12 really good minutes. Maybe that's Tamar Bates. Maybe he finds his range after being cold for the last God knows how long. Maybe that's Geronimo. Whatever. By the way, everybody sells milk toast.
That's not how you spell it.
It's not how you spell it, boys and girls. It's milk toast. MILQUEUETOAST. Milk toast.
Yeah, it's not like you put a piece of bread in milk.
Right. So we're here to help. We're editors.
Exactly.
This is it's constant learning, baby.
Constant learning.
It's what it's all about. If you're not learning, you're going backwards. The Big Ten tournament, this thing is wide open.
Yeah, no great teams.
And Purdue can win this. Indiana can win this. Iowa can win this. Michigan State can win it. But I think that there's just one Northwestern. I forgot about them, didn't I? I think there's like 5 or 6 teams that can win this.
I agree. I think, I mean, you look down the list, even like a Michigan has got an outside chance. I mean, they're not good, but I mean, they look pretty good against IU the other day. But I agree with you. I think there are 6 or 7 teams, and you got a lot of teams on the bubble. So I mean, they're gonna be playing like their hair's on fire. So it's gonna be very competitive. I'm looking forward to watching the games today, even though it's the crap teams. I'm looking forward to watching the games today because I have no life.
Well, I mean, that's what we do. But but me too, because they are fighting, and sometimes those are the best games because people are rising up. And then the NCAA tournament, of course, on the heels coming up next week. Indiana, I've said it yesterday. I think Indiana's pretty set at a 4 seed unless something crazy happens and they go and win the Big Ten tournament. And even with that, I think they need a little help up front with some people dropping. And I don't know who that would have to be somebody from the Big 12, basically, because there's so many Big 12 teams in front of them, which that's possible because there's going to be losses in the Big 12 tournament, but they would have to look really good, I think, winning.
Yeah.
Well.
I think they're pretty much pigeonholed at 4, but you're right. I mean, if everything falls right and they win the Big Ten tournament and a couple of teams in front of them, fall on their backside, I could see them moving up to 3, but I don't see it.
Make sure you stop and record that, John. He said you're right. Who is your upset team to win the Big Ten?
It's not an upset, but Michigan State. I just love Izzo this time of year.
I think it is an upset because they snuck into that double bye.
Right,
and man, boy,
You give me 3 games with Tom Izzo, man. I like my chances.
Anytime a team sneaks into something like that, so quiet, it's like they quietly just like slid right into this little double bye situation with no noise. Everybody's worried about Indiana. They're going to get a double bye. Here's Michigan State. They made it in without playing a game. Actually, they made it in by not playing a game.
Right.
So, what's up next for you? We know you've got the piece out right now. Go to The Athletic. It's a great piece out on Trace Jackson Davis.
Thank you. You haven't read it, but that's okay.
I've been reading parts of it while we're doing this segment.
I figured that was your preparation for the show. Yeah.
Well, it's only been out for 4 hours.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm going up to I don't know how well you knew him. Remember David Benner,
Yes,
the
sir.
PR guy for the
yes.
Pacers?
Yes,
He's
sir.
having a celebration of life today, Cambridge Fieldhouse. If anybody wants to, it's open. So it's going to be in the concourse there, the entry pavilion at Cambridge. And then I'm going to head on up tomorrow to Chicago and cover Indiana and Purdue and see how that shakes out.
David Benner, just for those of you, all of our listeners in the Indianapolis area, I'm sure you're very familiar with him, former writer at the Star, and then spent, the last 20 years?
I think it's 27 years or something like that as the Pacers public relations, media relations guy. Lovely man, and he'll be missed.
How smart of a move did he make in career choices?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well,
that was a good one.
Yeah, that worked out well for him.
And Bob, I will see. Yeah, I'll leave tomorrow as well. So
all right, sounds good. We'll go out and grab a cocktail.
Absolutely. The great one, Bob Kravitz here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from The Athletic. Make sure you go read his piece on Trace Jackson Davis right now. We're back with more, brought to you by our good friends from Go Team, a part of the Great Endeavor family. Go Team, for those of you that are on the go, whether it's you, your family, the kids, it's hard to find fresh, tasty food that's convenient to eat on the fly. Go Team was created for go-getters like you, full of health, fresh ingredients. GoTeamBites.com or pick them up at BB's Market. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal. I think that there's a good chance of that, Brian. It's just, it's hard.
I don't know that Purdue's going to win their first game, to be honest.
Who will they play the winner of?
Michigan Rutgers.
It was crazy. I feel like I was looking at the 4 teams with buys. I feel like Indiana has the most favorable route to get to the Big Ten.
I would probably agree with that. What?
Indiana easily has the easiest little pocket, and then if you compare the two sides, I think the side that they're on is easier than the left side, or you know what I mean? The side that Purdue's on.
I mean, but here's the thing, John. I don't necessarily disagree.
Wow. Look at that.
But
Indiana was lucky.
Yeah.
It
just depends on how they play. This is stupid, but the Big Ten has been so up in the air. I mean, Michigan could score 80 points or they might score 40. So it just depends on which team shows up. But I feel like that's the case for every team in the Big Ten except Minnesota, who is atrocious.
I just can't believe Louisville is going to finish, which they already did finish their season. They're not the worst Power 5 team. California had 3 wins, whereas Louisville had 4.
Is California, are they done?
I think they play tonight, but they're not going to win. I mean,
well, you
never know, I guess, but
I don't understand this. Where did I see that?
Is there something
what have you been playing in the background?
Yeah, there's something playing on your end, Jim.
It's not super loud, but every once in a while it creeps through whatever it is it's playing. Are you not watching that women's thing anymore?
I think there's something.
What women's thing?
You were playing something from the women's
The women
basketball
video,
before the show
ESPN.
started.
I intentionally played nothing.
There's definitely a video.
I
sound
even
coming.
hear it right now. Now that we're talking about it.
All right, so I will shut down.
Don't leave the.
Is this an open segment?
It is. Yes. Sorry, someone just sent me something funny.
So do you still hear it?
Not right now. No.
No.
Because I've
All
been
right, here we
shutting
go.
stuff down.
Selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Dustin Schutte with me from Outsider.com. Hope you're having a great week. We're at the midway point, and actually, pull the rockets, man. Light the fuses. It's tournament time, and it starts today officially for us. The Big Ten tournament gets underway up in Chicago at the United Center. We'll be tracking those games. Trace Jackson Davis was named unanimous first team All Big Ten, of course, as was Zach Edey. Jalen Hutchifino is your freshman of the year in the Big Ten. First freshman of the year from Indiana since, take a guess,
Eric
Noah
Gordon.
Vonleh.
Oh,
Noah
Noah
Vonleh.
Vonleh.
I figured people would guess Romeo Langford.
Or Yogi Ferrell.
Ah,
There's a lot of Indiana's had a lot of really good freshmen.
wow, yeah, Yogi didn't get it, huh?
I thought that was a trick question. We had to go back to the 2000s to
Well, it kind of was a trick question because there's
It
so
was.
many options in there. I mean,
That's true. Noah Vonleh would have been my last guess.
The entire first team in the Big Ten includes Zach Edey, Trace Jackson Davis, Chris Murray, Jalen Pickett, and Terrence Shannon. From the coaches, Boo Buie from the media, and Hunter Dickinson of the media. Yeah, I need to pull up the Rivals All Big Ten selection as well. That was put out yesterday as well. Let's see, where can I find that? Because I know Trace Jackson Davis he did not get the Defensive Player of the Year in either, I don't think, which was a little surprising for me.
Yeah, it was Caleb McConnell and was it Chase Aldridge was the other one?
Chase Audige.
Chase Aldridge. Chase Audige. My bad. I was thinking of LaMarcus Aldridge and Chase Audige. My bad.
Well, in the Rivals All Big Ten, and this was voted on strictly by the Rivals coverage people in that cover the Big Ten. Chris Murray, Trace Jackson Davis, Zach Edey, all with 54 points. The first team, Jalen Pickett, and Boo Buie.
Mm-hmm.
See, I did not have Boo Buie on my first team. He's pretty good, but Hunter Dickinson.
Yeah.
But Boo Buie's done more. I will agree. He's done more for a team and lifted a team to more, so he probably deserves that. And so I'm going to acknowledge that and actually wish I would have reversed that in hindsight. Second team, Hunter Dickinson, Terrence Shannon, Jameer Young from Maryland, Bryce Sensabaugh, the freshman from Ohio State, Tyson Walker of Michigan State, and Chase Audige from Northwestern, the third team. Jalen Hood-Schifino, Clifford Morey, Joey Hauser from Michigan State, Jed Howard of Michigan, and Flip Rebraca from Iowa. No one from Indiana getting honorable mention. But then we go down. Big Ten Player of the Year was Zach Edey. Close. He took it 14 of the 18 votes for Player of the Year.
And just Trace get the other 4, I'm guessing.
I would imagine, but who knows? The Kansas or the Iowa people could have voted Chris Murray. Who knows?
True.
Big Ten Freshman of the Year was selected as Jalen Hood-Schifino by the big rivals in the Big Ten. It was a 2-player race, of course, between him and Sensabaugh, but he won that easily, 12-6.
Do you think Jalen Hood-Schifino wins that award because of? I mean, he was great all season, but if he doesn't have that game against Purdue, does he still win? Do you think?
No. Well, no, I don't know, but he wasn't great all season. He had to learn. He was thrust into this.
Well, no. I mean,
X went down, and he had a learning curve, man. There were many games where his inconsistency was showing, where he was going 2 for 12 and this and that. But he, even during that time, he was doing other things to run the offense, learning. But he got to the point to where he was doing it all, scoring, shooting, and just really developed into a complete player. And he didn't have Bryce Sensabaugh does not have a Trace Jackson Davis on his team that's scoring 28, 30 points a game, taking that away from him either. So you got to keep that in mind.
Right. Well, I'm saying I know he had his struggles. When I say great all season, I mean along the lines of a freshman. Like you know that those guys are going to have those kind of mistakes. If they don't, it's few and far between, and those guys are going to be lottery picks. So in terms of him being a freshman, I thought he was great all year. I just didn't want it to seem like the only reason he's winning that award is because of the Purdue game. I think that kind of sealed it to have 35 points in that game, basically lead Indiana to a win, an upset win, a place they hadn't won in a decade. To me, that was what he wasn't going to lose that award after that performance. That's just, to me, I thought that was one of the best performances I've seen from an Indiana freshman in a really long time.
The Big Ten Sixth Man of the Year went to Peyton Sanford from Iowa. Took 7 of the 18 votes. That was really cut up. Coach of the Year went to Matt Painter. And I was in a discussion with this last night again with someone who just firmly believed Matt Painter was the coach of the year. And I think it's Chris Collins.
I do too.
Northwestern was picked to finish, 13th?
13th, and they ended up second.
And it's Northwestern.
Right.
They've only made the Big Ten tournament one time in their history prior to this. Only that.
NCAA tournament.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. They've only made the NCAA tournament. 2017 was it.
Yeah.
And now they're a number 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. They finished second or wherever they finished. Yeah, in the Big Ten. They swept Indiana. I mean, come on.
Right.
Really?
They swept. He is 3-0 against Mike Woodson and Matt Painter.
So yeah.
Here's the thing. This was the argument that I heard for,
and it's Northwestern, for God's sake.
Yes. This was the argument I heard for Matt Painter. Was they lost so much from last season? They lost Jay Nybee, Travion Williams. Let me finish.
I know.
And they won the league by 3 games, which is true. They were picked to finish 6th, 7th, somewhere in that neighborhood, and they won the league by 3 games. They also had the National Player of the Year. They're Purdue. I know where they were picked, but it's like the Bo Ryan effect with Matt Painter to me. I expect Purdue now never to finish below 5th in the Big Ten. Like that's just a credit. That's the Matt Painter effect. So I'm not downplaying. I think he was a really good coach and did a great job getting his team to a Big Ten championship. But Northwestern was not good, or not particularly good a season ago. Has been to the tournament once, as you mentioned, Jim.
They lost. Don't forget they lost one player to Duke and another one to North Carolina.
Exactly. Chris Collins was on the hot seat. Northwestern was picked to finish 13th, and they finished second. I don't know what else. If that doesn't warrant Coach of the Year, I don't know what we would even be doing. And that, again, that takes nothing away from what Matt Painter accomplished this season. It's just, to me, Chris Collins did so much more with less. And I know they had a senior-laden team, but my goodness, they faced an uphill battle from the start. And they lost to Pitt by what, like 30 points? So everybody was writing off Northwestern, and here we are. So I agree. Chris Collins was the Big Ten Coach of the Year. Like it's not even a contest.
K-Bro needs to chime in what he thinks.
He said something. Is somebody seeing Buddy Guy?
Well, he mentioned maybe he's in Chicago then. I don't know.
There you go.
See, Kevin's on it, man. He knows
Kevin
what's going on. He's not even going to the Big Ten tournament. He'll be at the SEC tournament.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, have fun with that. That won't
well, he's covering the Gators, so it'll be a short.
I was going to say he won't be there long, so there's that, which is nice. But yeah, at least we're going to Chicago and not Minneapolis.
Well, this year.
No, see, you had to go there.
I did have to go there. I got to bring it up. Yeah.
Let's see. Let me make sure I'm going to. Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure I hit all that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game starting. The work production in America will begin to go down starting this week, but really starting to tail next week. I mean, this goes back decades now. When the NCAA tournament rolled around, it was like, oh yeah, everybody's watching games. Just think of back in the day, they didn't have the ability to watch them on a computer or all that stuff. Now you do.
Right.
You can be working here and have the game up over here, or hell, have 2 or 3 games up over here for that matter.
On your monitor and on your phone. And if you have an iPad or what are those things called? The tablet, something like that, you could get 3 games going.
The tablet or something like that.
I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, something like that. I'm just looking forward to the games. I'm looking forward to some of the upsets. And some of these big upsets that we see in the NCAA tournament, I started to think, do you know what? I think a big part of that has to do with the teams that get upset, the bigger, well-named teams. They're playing in much bigger, much tougher conferences and conference tournaments.
Yep.
Think about teams that come out. Think about the teams that are coming out of the Big 12, the Big 10. They have just been pounded. And Don, I was talking to Don the other night and just talking about how this team is, they're tired.
Right.
They're physically tired. They really are. And I'm sure they're not the only one. That to me is part of the reason why you find these upsets. Those other teams, they don't have the stress, number one. They don't have that mental stress that these bigger teams play. They're playing conference tournaments a lot of the times a week in advance.
Right.
An entire week in advance.
Yeah.
And get to rest and
get healthy.
Blah, blah. Yeah, exactly. So there's a little bit of that goes into that.
Yeah, that's the one thing. That's the one thing I've always had a gripe with, and it's never going to change because it's all about the television dollars. But if you're looking at it in terms of fairness, you'd play the conference tournaments at all the exact same time because then there's no real advantage to
very
any
few people that are involved with it like the conference tournaments. And when I say involved with it, I mean coaches. They would rather not be playing this tournament.
Well, and Matt Painter said after they lost to Maryland a few weeks ago, somebody asked him, how do you get your team ready for the Big Ten and NCAA tournament or some question along those lines. And he said, I could care less about the Big Ten tournament.
See,
I mean, that's just what it is, but it's a money grab and it brings in a ton of money, brings in a ton of fans, brings in a ton of viewership. So it's never going anywhere.
and you just don't want it to affect your NCAA tournament seeding. That's
Right.
it. But yeah, it looks great on a resume to win one, especially if you need to win it.
Well,
But if you don't, you're like, I'm just going to go. It's just like, why? I've got to put my team through this stress, through this mental and physical stress for something that doesn't really matter because we got to turn it. We've already played an entire season that did matter.
Yep.
And then we have this big tournament that really matters. And you're going to force us to play this other stupid tournament in between that has no reflection whatsoever on many of the teams. You know what they should do? The teams that have no shot to get in, that's who should play in the Big Ten tournament or should play in the conference tournaments.
I agree. I completely agree. I think I think the top 4 teams should not, if in an ideal world, the top 4 teams should not have to play.
Bam. Oh, my God, what a great idea this came up with. We got to take a break. We're going to think on that a little bit more. Don't forget, if you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. She's a great sponsor of IU Athletics and of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and we love and appreciate her very much. And if you're down in the Louisville, Southern Indiana, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott County areas, all down through there, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services have served those communities for over 3 decades. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or our friend Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. We're back with more and Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore.
All right. Did you remove Feast from the sponsors? Are they no longer
I did.
one of our things?
Yeah, Hank's in there instead.
Can you not have both?
No, we don't need them.
Why would you not just get rid of one of the people we never use, like Aurora or Culver's?
We can remove those as well.
Well, all right, never mind. All right, well, my point is it's one of the liners that I have, so I'll have to replace it with something else. So tell me when you're going to do that next time. Or School Courier. We don't even have a liner for School Courier. Mike DeCourcy had Indiana paired up with Iona in yesterday's bracket, his bracket forecast.
Really?
That is not a good draw for Indiana. I don't care how good or bad Iona is. You don't want to play Rick Pitino.
No. Yeah, that could be potentially disastrous. Well, I mean, anything
of
could
course.
be potentially
And as good as Rick Pitino is, it would still be inexcusable for Mike Woodson to lose that game. It just sets him up for failure. And in that same bracket, the very next game, if the top teams won, you'd play Kentucky next because they'd be the 5 in that bracket. They had Indiana as the 4, Kentucky as the 5.
Wow.
You think? Yeah, I've never heard of the NCAA doing such a thing.
Yeah, imagine those assholes. I'm just kidding. I think it doesn't matter what year it is. They're going to always try to put Indiana and Kentucky in the same bracket.
Would you not want that?
I mean, I want it, but is it only because they don't play in the regular season? Like, they do it every time. They do it every single time.
Because it's a fucking draw, John.
I know. I'm not a dumbass. I know, but just shake it up.
Then shaking it up is not a draw. You put the draw on.
I'm just telling you what I prefer.
Well, they prefer to get the most viewers possible.
Well, of course. I've acknowledged that I understand that 3 times now. All right, here we go.
BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. It is March 8th. Jim Coyle, Dustin Schutte along with you. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star as well. I've heard that it's tournament time, Kyle Neddenriep, that there's basketball going on out and about.
There is. You're right. You're correct.
You are correct, sir. Man, the colleges are getting started this week. Of course, the Big Ten tournament. Luckily, it's not in Indianapolis this year. Well, not luckily, unfortunately for me, but that creates some room. It opens up less headaches for the boys tournament, I think, because they always kind of cross paths a little bit. But now, where are we in boys? Are we in the regional play this week?
Yeah. One game, they changed the format a little bit this year, so it's a one-game regional, and then next week will be kind of like the regional used to be. It'll be a two-game, kind of a semi-state, the winners play off at night in the semi-state.
And then, of course, the regional locations. How many are there? Are there 8 still, or 4?
There is, There's 64 teams left, so 64 champions and 16 in each class. So you'll have whatever that comes out to.
Man, they're all over the place this week.
Yeah, I mean, Cathedral Ben Davis probably the biggest game, and there'll be a lot of good games though. Should be a fun week of basketball.
Now, are they stacked up to where they've got multiple games in the same places, or
yeah, there's two games at each site. So you got I think most of them are 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then either that set up or 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So you got they're staggered out slightly to I don't know why they do that exactly, but that's just kind of how it is. But then you won't have the championship game. Obviously, won't be. Or they're both championship games, and then those two winners at each site will filter into to the semi-state next week with 2 other teams from a different regional. So and we'll see. It's first year they've done that, so kind of looking forward to see how that looks next week at the semi-state. But a little different, and I think people still, some people may not even know this is the case who haven't been following it. But it's just a little bit different format than we've seen before.
Yeah, I see Bloomington North takes on Columbus North at Seymour, one of the games there. And let's see, who else plays? I'm assuming Jennings County, are they playing somebody? Did they come out of the Jeffersonville sectional, I would imagine?
Yeah, they did. They ended up winning a pretty dramatic win in the first game. They beat Bedford North Lawrence in 2 overtimes and then took down Jeff and New Albany. So pretty exciting for Jennings County. They're playing down at
Seymour.
Seymour, yeah. They're playing Evansville Rights. So yeah, that's pretty wide open. They play Bloomington North and then Columbus North, like you said, and Jennings County plays Evansville Rights. So those 4, 2 of those winners will come out of that, and then the 2 winners from Southport will play also. So yeah, the Southport Regional is really good. New Pile and Brownsburg in one game, and then Cathedral and Ben Davis in the other game. So you got Cathedral's the defending state champs and Ben Davis number 1 and undefeated. So those 2 teams squaring off. That's kind of what people I think have been thinking could happen or have been looking forward to. So, and they played earlier this year. Ben Davis beat them by about 12, I believe. But yeah, that should be outstanding. And then up north, you've got Marcus Burton and Penn. They've got a tough game. I think people maybe sleeping on Chesterton a little bit, because Travis Grayson graduated, but a lot of that team came back from last year who made the state finals. So, they'll have a good challenge with Chesterton up at Michigan City. And then, at Logansport, you have Noblesville and Fort Wayne. and Kokomo and Fort Wayne North. And I think, Noblesville and Kokomo, I think, should get through there at Noblesville or at Logansport. I'm sorry. But, and then you could have Penn and Hammond Central plays Mishawaka. Haven't seen Hammond Central this year. I have in the past and know they're really good. They're 25-1. But that could potentially be you could have, in the north, you could have Penn, Hammond Central, Noblesville, and Kokomo, which I think would be a really good foursome up there. So 4A is just really deep this year. I think deeper than normal. The south quadrant with Seymour, or the one that's going to be played at Seymour, is probably a little bit unknown or a little bit maybe weaker, than some of the rest. But that Jennings County team's been really fun to watch. Bloomington North's got J.Q. Roberts, who's a excellent player going to Vanderbilt, and Wrights is always good, and they're kind of back this year. Good senior class. So just overall, it's a really deep senior class, which kind of leads to some really good games. And we saw a ton of good sectional games last week. A lot of buzzer beaters, a lot of upsets. Kind of a wild week of basketball. A lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mentioned Jennings County earlier, and I kind of chuckle because when I was in school, they were the beaten bag, man. They get beat up, whether it was by Floyd Central or New Albany or Jeffersonville, whomever. They were a team that just did not finish high in anything, basically. And for them to have this kind of success, that's major, because you beat every major team there along the way to get to where they're going. And I'm going to assume they've never been to a semi-state, so they have a shot to make the semi-state, unless it was way back a long time ago.
Yeah, I saw them play Brownstown earlier this year, and they really shoot the three well. And the next night after I saw them, they beat Brownstown and then lost to Center Grove in a really close game. I think that was their first loss of the season. I think they started like 12-0 or 13-0. And, I was impressed when I saw them play in person. I didn't, wasn't sure, what kind of schedule they'd played up to that point, but they beat Columbus North. They beat Greensburg, who's always good. And then they beat Brownstown. Then they go on and, some of those powerhouse teams of normal, the Bloomington Souths and they did lose to Jeffersonville, but then rebounded and beat them in the sectional. But, they beat a really good Scottsburg team who's still playing in 3A. So, and that Bedford North Lawrence team was really playing well as well. They had to come back from two big deficits. They were actually down 9 points in the second overtime, and came back and beat Bedford North Lawrence, which is pretty rare that would happen. But as far as coming back from that amount, but really good team. That's I think they have a chance probably to get through there. I think it's pretty wide open in that Seymour Regional, but yeah, I think in looking here, they did win the regional in 1998, so they made it to the semi-state and lost to Lawrence Central, which I remember that game sort of one of those somewhat famous games they lost. I think that game was at Assembly Hall in 1998, so lost to Lawrence Central and didn't make it to the state finals, but yeah, it's been a long time coming anyway. You can see they posted about the fire trucks going through town after they won the sectional and all that. So pretty cool to see, programs like that. I know Lake Station up north hadn't won a sectional since 1941. So it's always neat when those schools that haven't experienced that success are able to have that happen for them.
Flory Badunga and Kokomo, you mentioned them a little bit. They're still moving along in this tournament. IU recruit Flory Badunga, and they've got a shot to do some damage, man.
Yeah, they kind of struggled with Lafayette Harrison, who's a good team as well, but they were able to get through that one, and then they blasted Marion in the championship game by I think 34 points or somewhere around there. So yeah, I think they're probably they're probably the team. I don't know if they're the team to beat necessarily. It's hard to know. These teams haven't played each other, so they'll play Fort Wayne Northside, which is not a big team. They're really guard dominant, and so that'll be a tough matchup, I think, for Fort Wayne Northside. So I think Kokomo will get through that one, but like I said, I think Noblesville will beat Fort Wayne, which they're another team They won only 4 games last year. Now they're 20-4 this year. Another team that's really guard dominant, and I think that could be a fun game, interesting game, because Noblesville's kind of that way too. They came out of that tough Carmel sectional. They're a first time winner since 2010, so 13 years ago. But yeah, that sets up. You could have Flory Badunga, could have Marcus Burton in the same semi-state with Hammond Central and Noblesville potentially. I think that would set up to be a really interesting semi-state next week. So, but yeah, no one can really match up with Flory as far as size-wise goes. I think Ben Davis did a good job on him. There are a handful of teams that have kind of slowed him down, but when you're shooting 80% from the field, it's pretty rare. So no one has really been able to stop him, and you just kind of have to hope to pack it in and hope their guards miss enough shots where you can beat them. And Harrison almost did that, so it's not like they're impossible to beat, but have really been playing well. They haven't lost a game in a long time. I think it's been since their holiday tournament when Brownsburg beat them. So they're on a pretty good winning streak, probably 12, 13 game winning streak now. So they've really got it rolling.
Yeah, it's going to take something to get him stopped as well. How about Fort Wayne Blackhawk Christian with Matt Roth, former IU player? What is he in his first year there? And they're having a nice little run.
Yeah, they could win it all, I think. And, of course, the story last year, Mark Davidson, their coach, passed away after that battle with cancer. Mark, truly, one of the best guys I've ever met, just not even coaching-wise, but just human beings. And, he passed away. He was able to meet Matt Roth. Mark kind of stepped aside, and, I think that was I forget the timeline. It was pretty much right after the season, so he kind of handed the reign to Matt Roth, and Matt stepped into a really good situation with what he had coming back, and everything Mark had done for that program to kind of build it up over the years. So, hoping to catch up with Matt at some point, and I think they're going to be, they're got to be one of the top teams, I think, in that class. That's a really good class, by the way. I mean, Class 2A is just a loaded group this year, but Tipton's not an easy team. They're going to play them at LaPel, and then Wapahani is also playing at LaPel. Again, these teams don't, you only play one game now, but Wapahani's a team they could possibly see the following week, and they're second in the state this year. Really good team, 24 wins, and haven't lost since the season opener. So, you've got that team. You got, but I think the winner, those two teams are probably the favorite to come. Whoever comes out of that, you can also throw Gary 21st Century into that mix. I think they're very good. Another team that's really senior heavy. Ashton Williamson, their point guard, is an exceptional player. So between those four, there are those three. I guess it would be Blackhawk, Wapahani, and Gary 21st. Those are all three very good 2A teams. And then down south, of course, you have Brownstown with Jack Benter and Linton Stockton, who's been number one all season. So just a lot of really good teams in 2A that should make it pretty interesting down the stretch here.
Of course, you're going to be going to the game of the week, which that's almost like a state championship type of a game, I'm going to assume, man. That environment will be.
Yeah, the Cathedral Ben Davis game, should be awesome. 4:00 Saturday, and the first game will be also very good, I think, between New Pal and Brownsburg. But that game's at 1:00. So yeah, these games, just so fans kind of know, they'll play the game, do the trophies, and cut down the nets, and then put the nets back up, and then play another regional game. So this is a little bit different than it's been in the past. So there's a little bit of a gap between those games because of that. But 1:00, 4:00, and the Logansport regional, for example, is 4:00, 7:00. So you got basically between those times, pretty much everywhere. Be those. I think south it's 4:00, 7:00. So you got some different times, but yeah, I mean that Southport regional should be really good. I just know Cathedral has not handled the ball very well, and against that Ben Davis pressure, that's kind of the biggest question mark is, can Cathedral handle the ball well enough to beat them. And I don't know that will be the case. But Cathedral's got some great talent, obviously, with Booker, and Booker played really well in the sectional last week, and I think he's kind of flipped the switch a little bit here once the tournament starts. And Jerron Tibbs has had a great year, Jake Davis, and the question will be the guard play. Can they handle the ball against that Ben Davis pressure and keep those runs from happening, basically, and can they stop Ben Davis from doing that? So that I think that's the biggest key to that game.
Is Jalen Harrison and Trent Sisley still playing?
Nope, they're both out. Fisher's
out.
lost. Noblesville won that sectional, and Heritage Hills lost before the championship game. North Davies came out of that sectional.
Line through both of their names, baby. They're out. Man, Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star is a busy man, but if you want to follow the Indiana high school basketball trail, he's the guy to follow. Can't appreciate him so much.
You bet. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You bet. Kyle Neddenriep from Indy Star. Make sure you give him a follow, especially for Indiana high school basketball coverage. We've got the great one, Rick Bozich, coming up next here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Meadowworks Brewing, where you can find they're served in all the great Endeavor hospitality restaurants in and around the Bloomington area. Meadowworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art alongside a desire to be actively involved in the community. Stop by and have it at any of the great places like the Allery, BB's Market, Cabello, Feast, Courtroom Sports Grill, Southern Stone, and more. Back with Rick Bozich right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a
Good morning.
Good
Rick.
Hey, Rick, how are you, sir?
Morning. I'm good. How are you?
Great. How's your week shaping up?
Be pretty quiet now. Not going to Chicago. I don't think I'm going to Nashville because Kentucky didn't play till 9:30 Friday night.
That's Indiana playing 9:30 Friday night.
You going up there?
Oh, yeah.
When are you going?
Well, I'd planned on leaving Friday afternoon, but because none of the minions can get up there in time to do this stinking 10 minutes worth of availability tomorrow, I have to go up early.
He's doing 10 minutes at the hotel.
Well, I mean, it's going to last 10 minutes. It's an availability at the hotel.
And there's no live stream, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
So I get to drive up early. I can't wait.
Who's it going to be? Woodson and like Jackson Davis and somebody?
I don't know who the players are, but I would imagine that'll be it.
Huh. I don't know. Who's the best talker on the team?
You know what? The other night, Trey Jackson Davis really looked, when he gave his senior speech in front of everybody, he was extraordinarily comfortable talking into the mic, head up, looking around where everybody else would usually just be, I just want to thank my coaches and my family. He was like, hey, we're going to do this, and we need to hang another one of those banners, and we need to hang another one of these. And he embraced it. So I was like, okay, where the hell did that come from? It was, it stood out to me.
Good. What are they going to be? A 4 seed, probably? Maybe a 5, 4 or 5?
I'm guessing they're a solid 4 right now, and I don't see them moving up because there's what's in front of them, and they'd have to really hurt themselves to move down.
Right.
I don't know that even a first round loss in the Big Ten tournament kicks them out because it'd be against Maryland. Right. It's not like it's a horrible loss, but I think they are going to beat Maryland if it's who they end up playing.
Right.
All right, here we go, guys.
offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday, and that means it's Hall of Fame Day. Rick Bozich steps in with us from WDRB.com. Rick, covering Louisville, Kentucky, and Indiana this year has to have been a wild, maybe the wildest ride. You've covered these three schools for 20 years.
Longer.
Yeah, I mean, over 2 decades. And we're talking about three of the greatest programs in college basketball history, at least. Kentucky and Indiana are really up on Mount Rushmore. Louisville's right there. But boy, this has been, we've seen Indiana have goofy years. We've seen Kentucky have goofy years. Louisville's been with the NCAA stuff, but this year has been a conglomeration of craziness.
Yeah, you know what I say? When I started out here in the late 70s and then all the way into the 90s, you just expected every year all three teams, A, would make the tournament, and B, probably get to the Sweet 16, be ranked a good part of the year. Selection Sunday was more of a matter of like figuring out where you had to go instead of anything else. And what I've learned over the last, 10 years, 12 years, is that nothing's guaranteed. Indiana's dramatically changed from what it used to be. Now, maybe Mike Woodson can get it back to the point where the NCAA tournament bid is assumed every year, but not quite there yet, even though he's going to be 2 for 2. Louisville's got a long road ahead of it, which I'm sure they hope to shorten by using the transfer portal. And Kentucky, for all of its advantages, and even though it's safely in the NCAA tournament, considering what they were a decade ago when they were pretty much always a 1 seed that had 3 or 4 of the best players in the country, they're not there anymore. So nothing's guaranteed, even for programs that have all the resources, all the fan interest, all the tradition, and all the you could want. Nothing's guaranteed.
And this year, Louisville, I'm of great interest. What in the hell happened to them? Because they have more talent on that team than Indiana had on that 6-25 team. That Indiana's team they basically had me and Dustin on there, the equivalent, and went 6-25. What the hell was going on with Louisville? Because they had some talented players, and it's a weak ACC this year.
Right. Started out poorly with 3 one-point losses to Bellarmine, Wright State, and trying to think of who the third, App State. And I think it started out even poorer than that because they lost to Lenore Ryan in their first exhibition game. And I think at that point going forward, all their confidence was gone and never really – they just didn't have any guards. I mean, they had one guard who was pretty good in L. Ellis, but even though he was the second leading scorer in the ACC, he made a zillion turnovers, and they just – they never did create an identity. I mean, I think what you're talking about is when you have a bad team that's outmanned, you can at least create an identity. And I think what Crean did with that team was – the identity is we're going to play harder than anybody else, or we're going to, be good on blocking out or something. This Louisville team didn't ever create an identity. And last night's game was a great example of what you thought after, everything they've been through that they would have turned a few corners, but they're playing a Boston College team that was without its leading scorer. Louisville was ahead by 3 points at halftime. They were ahead 3 or 4 minutes into the second half, and then they got blitzed by 18 points. It was a team, whenever something bad happened, for too many of them, the first reaction was surrender. And, that wasn't a good sign.
So where do they go from here? Like, it seems very. I mean, I don't want to necessarily say the sky is falling, but how's recruiting going? What's the? I mean, we've talked about it before. You said Kenny Payne is going to be there next year. So, but like when you have a team that's this bad, it was kind of understood when Indiana went through this that they were going to be that bad for a little bit. Like that was understood. I don't know that anybody thought. Maybe people thought Louisville wasn't going to be a traditional power like they have been, but I don't know that anybody foresaw this type of season happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll see a massive turnover on the roster. I wouldn't be surprised if only 4 guys are back. They've only got 2 recruits to this point. Both of them are forwards. They need guards. Hearing a lot of stories about guys in the portal. Some of them pretty intriguing. There was a big man, 7-footer last week from Minnesota 2 weeks ago, top 25 recruit who decommitted. Most everybody think he's gonna be at Louisville next year. So
heard any rumors about any particular Louisville player transferring to Indiana?
I have not. You've heard that?
I just saw one. Just all rumor. It's all rumor stuff.
Yeah. No, I have not heard that. I'd say they got 4 guys they can build with. Mike James had a pretty good year at guard. Brandon Huntley Hatfield was hurt a good part of the year, but I think he can be a productive front court player. They got a guy midseason from NBA Africa named Emmanuel Okarafor, who I think will be a decent player. And then right now I'm blanking out. Oh, JJ Traynor is the 4th one who finished the year pretty strong. Everybody else on the roster, it wouldn't surprise me if they were all gone. And, then you move forward and bring in different players. But he's got 2 things to do. He's got to rebuild his team, but he's got to rebuild confidence from the fans. I mean, I step away from it and say, is only 1 year, give him a time. But fans aren't that way anymore, man. There's people are like, when are you going to change the coaching staff? And are you on the hot seat and all this stuff? And it's like, as I've talked about this before, the difference between the IU rebuild and the Louisville rebuild is when the IU went through the rebuild, fans still came to Assembly Hall. I mean, it wasn't all the way packed, but it was still pretty packed.
Right.
I mean, Louisville had some half-empty games this year, a lot of them.
And Assembly Hall is in Bloomington, which is a town of 50,000 people, not a major metropolitan city like Louisville is. That's a huge, huge difference. And that, I mean, I know, and this is not trying to start this, but people like to talk about, they're the basketball state, this is the basketball state. That's why when people in Indiana say, no, basketball is just ingrained here. When their team sucked, and I mean sucked beyond the level of sucking, they still came and showed up.
Yeah, they did.
And still filled it up.
They did.
The high school gyms are still full. And so, that's why I try to tell people, you don't get it.
It's a different culture.
I've seen it since I was in high school, man. I'm like, dude, you don't get it. Yeah. It is.
Yeah, and people here also have scandal fatigue. I mean, they've been through all that stuff with the NCAA, and I think some people, it's not cheap going to the games at the KFC. I'm saying expensive.
Well, they got a lot of fines to repay, man.
It's expensive to park downtown. Expensive for the tickets. Donations are expensive, and once crowds drop off a little, some people say, you know what? I don't have to renew my tickets because I can get one whenever I want to. Or I had season tickets last year and I didn't want to go. I couldn't give them away. So you have to kind of flip the switch psychologically in the fan base to get them back into the habit of coming to games. So they've got a two-layer challenge ahead of them.
Did John, the producer, pointed out that currently, which doesn't mean jack, somebody has on I don't know if it's ESPN on their bracketology.
It was DeCourcy.
There you go. Makes it even better. Our man Mike has Indiana facing Iona first, and then the possibility of playing Kentucky.
Yeah, when I started looking at, Indiana being a 4 and who the 13s are, and I think Iona is a good candidate to be a 13. So that means there'd be a 25% chance to play them. So You don't think CBS would or TNT would like to have a Indiana against Rick Pitino game?
And like I said, if you don't think they do this stuff on purpose, you're out of your absolute crazy mind, because they want that Rick Pitino versus the shamed Rick Pitino against Indiana. Then it's Indiana against Kentucky, who doesn't play anymore. I mean,
or if Rick Pitino wins, Rick Pitino against Kentucky.
Oh, that would be,
there we go.
That would be. Would that be? Would that be bigger? Would that be bigger than Indiana versus Kentucky, since they don't play anymore?
Yeah, I think down here it would be.
Since it's with Iona.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. Yeah.
Well,
because we haven't heard from Pitino really locally since he left in 2017, and he's obviously looking to move to another job. And
is he?
Oh yeah, he's ready to go.
I mean,
that story by Matt Norlander a couple weeks ago. I mean, that was
no.
I'm open.
What is he? 71?
He's 70. He wants to go 7 or 8 more years, which means 12 to 15.
Holy.
And
I'm telling you,
all the unhappiness around Calipari, all he has to do is come in and beat UK, and we're going to have Kentucky fans saying, "Get rid of Cal, bring Patino back, get Camelot back together."
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
The way the NCAA is now, he doesn't have to worry about anything. He's like, "Hey, I'm out of this. I'm just coaching the team. Y'all take care of all that stuff."
He's been cleared.
He's been cleared. Not only that, though, but he can now, and players can be coerced in ways to come to school, and he doesn't even have to have anything to do with it other than just being there.
Yeah. I mean,
he would be, I'm telling you, he's going to be a hot property if he wants a job.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of rumors like he wants the Georgetown job, but I've heard the Georgetown powers that be aren't interested.
They're stupid.
Notre Dame's another one that I think he would be interested in. I've heard that.
I cannot see Notre Dame doing that now. I
mean,
would.
You need to go back and read the Matt Norlander piece. He flat out said in there that he turned down. He didn't say which job it was, but it's pretty obvious that it was Maryland. He turned it down because he didn't think that
he didn't want to coach in the Big Ten.
No, yeah, he does. He does say that in the story, which is weird. He said that because Minnesota fired his son, he doesn't want to work in any Big Ten job. Which I don't.
Oh, that's crap.
It is.
Come on, man.
He said he turned down Maryland because he didn't think he was worth Maryland paying his $5 million buyout, which is also baloney.
Maryland seems like a perfect job for him. He's an East Coast guy. And
I agree.
And they've got it going on. Now, when was this? Had to be before their current coach was hired, right?
Well, his current coach is a Pitino protege. Kevin Willard was with Rick Pitino,
right,
with the Celtics, and when he started at Louisville.
Oh, he probably recommended him.
Of course, he did. Yeah. So but yeah, go back and read the story. He's ready. There's no doubt in my mind he wants to make one more big Final Four NCAA championship run so he can rewrite his legacy. So that it isn't that he was only coach to win championships at 2 schools, but had one of them taken away by the NCAA, and be the only coach to win championships at 3 schools, and who came back from problems with the NCAA to have one more ultimate victory.
Doesn't Notre Dame seem like the perfect job for him? Like, I feel
no way. Notre Dame would never hire him.
Not after Porcini's, they're not going to hire him.
And Dustin does not know about Porcini, a very fine Italian.
No, I do know about this story.
Restaurant in Louisville that I used to frequent quite often when I was down there, and still do when in town. Owned by Tim Curry, great guy. But yeah, here's the thing. I think he's the best coach in college basketball. I think he has the best mind. I would not want to face him. It's like the old adage they used to say about Bob Knight. He can take yours and beat you, or beat you with his. Or it was the old Bum Phillips. He says he can take urine and beat you, or take his and beat you. However he said it.
Right. And if he played Indiana, he'd find a way to neutralize Trace Jackson Davis and Jalen Hood Schifino, and the pressure would be on the Hoosiers. That wouldn't be a good matchup for Indiana.
No,
to
because
play
he is a
against Allen and
smart guy.
Yes, he is.
So let's hope that doesn't happen.
I think there's a lot of teams whose coaches are in the 4 seed slot who don't want to play Iona and Rick Pitino.
It's the Big Ten. I don't think they get 10 teams in. I don't know that they deserve 10 teams in.
Now, if they get to 10, would that mean it'd have to be either Wisconsin or Michigan? Is that what it is?
Penn State. I think Penn State, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Well, now, yeah, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan, 2 of those 3, I think, would have to make it.
Breaking news: Rhode Island will not make the NCAA tournament this year.
Oh, boy.
9-21 under Archie Miller in his first season. What a
let me come back
paid
to
a bonus.
Let me come back to one thing. You talked about Louisville's season and not, doing what Crean did. The other problem is the gold standard for a guy of doing a lot with very little is Rick Pitino. And let's remember when he came to Kentucky.
The Kentucky team?
They went 14-14 the first year, and then the next year when they were still on probation and he added Jamal Mashburn, they went 22-8, beat Shaq, Chris Jackson, and Stanley Roberts.
What was that team called?
Unforgettables.
The Unforgettables. Now, they had a bunch of guys. That reminds me of an old Bob Knight type team.
Yeah.
He brought in guys like, was it Shepard and Reed and those kind of guys? Weren't they on that team?
That was later. No, the first team was the holdovers of Pelfrey, Feldhouse, Richie Farmer, Sean Woods, Derek Miller. I mean, it was a bunch of nobodies, really.
But they just fell into this rhythm, and they played damn good basketball, man.
They got in shape. They shot threes, and they out hustled you. And you can always win the energy hustle battle.
And they had Rick Pitino.
Yeah, preaching belief. Yeah,
I mean,
to me, that's still his greatest coaching job of all time. And then you forget that was his first year back. They went 14-14 with nobody. Then they went 22-8. Then the next year back was the year where they lost to Duke on the Leitner shot in their first year back in the tournament. And then the next year they went to the Final Four. So I mean, he showed that's the way to do it. And that's really, I think those were his best coaching jobs at any point in his life in college basketball.
We've got to take a break. What is up next for you, my friend?
I'm just going to watch the league tournaments from here and get ready for Selection Sunday to see where IU men and women, where the Louisville women, and where Kentucky men go, and we'll make our decision from there. So, what shot do you think Indiana has to wind up in the Yum Center if they get through the first round? They could be in the regional at the 4 seed. I think Indiana's ceiling this year is Sweet 16. I don't think they're good enough to get beyond the Sweet 16 because they haven't developed a.
They don't have a third guy.
They don't have a third guy, and so it wouldn't shock me though if they lost the first game. It really wouldn't. I mean, depends on which team comes out and how they play. I didn't think they'd win at Purdue. They play like that, they can win, but matchup dependent. Don't want to play Iona. No, you don't.
Absolutely not. Make sure you give Rick a follow if you're not already, and go to WDRB.com for all of his great, incredible content. He covers everybody, and it's all good stuff. Thank you, sir. I'll see you soon.
All right. Have a great week.
You bet. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joining us. Dustin Schutte, are you back?
I'm back.
All right. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Reynolds Family Dentistry. If you're down in the Sellersburg area in southern Indiana, make sure you stop by Reynolds Family Dentistry and see our friend Dr. J. He'll give you that championship smile. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Excuse me.
No yawning.
My bad. I got so much shit to do today. Whew.
Are you with us Thursday and Friday, Dustin?
Just Thursday.
This Thursday, okay.
FYI, I will be in Chicago Friday now.
Oh, you're not doing the show from here?
No, because none of these jacklegs can go up Thursday to do the freaking availability. I'm not
You'll
happy
have Joe
about
Friday too, just as a reminder.
I'm not happy about having to go up just to do 10 minutes of availability.
What day's their availability? Thursday?
Yep.
That's silly that you have to go up there for that.
Yes, it is. But guess what? If I don't, we won't have it until much later. And it won't be ours. And it won't be ours. And it doesn't get used by the news stations.
Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, no. We're going to, hey, this is
now Minneapolis, Minnesota.
John, Hoosier Hank is going to have a much bigger presence on here now.
Oh, he will, but I got to get him a sounder. It's just, let me make my peace with this. When I play, this segment is brought to you by K Bello, and Hoosier Hank is up there. It looks really dumb. You can switch it over to Hoosier Hank after a couple of minutes, but let me get into the segment with something else.
Okay, but you have to realize.
I'll get one with Hoosier Hank, though. I'll make one for Hoosier Hank.
I get it. But you have to realize the people on radio don't see it.
That's true, but there's also people who are watching and listening at the same time, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, then they're just getting a double dose.
All right, we'll switch it to Hoosier Hank. I don't care. All right, 30 seconds.
Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington offers a variety of freshly made fare, tying their roots in limestone with their love of Southern eateries. With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious, 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by K Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday, halfway point of the week, but it's the starting blocks for the Big Ten tournament, the Big 12 tournament, and many other tournaments off and running today. And we'll be keeping track of those and coming back tomorrow to talk about them. See who's facing who.
Tonight? Ohio State, Wisconsin's the first game, and then Nebraska, Minnesota is the late game.
Exciting stuff. Riveting.
Well, Ohio State's won 2 of their last 3 games, or they won 2. I should say they won 2 in a row, and then they got beat by Michigan State. And then in the season finale, Wisconsin is one of the most boring teams to watch, but they can beat just about anybody.
That's going to be a good game, actually. And I think Nebraska is just going to do what they do. They're going to beat Minnesota.
Yep, they've won 6 out of 8. I think that Nebraska-Maryland game is going to be I think that will be a good game. I don't know who's going to win, but I think that will be.
You know what? I agree with you. I think it's going to be a much better game than people think that it would be.
I think so too.
Nebraska, you have to remember, Nebraska took Purdue to 2 overtimes. They have won games. They have beaten people. They won. They beat someone on the last day to knock them out of a double bye.
They beat Iowa at Iowa. on the season finale. They beat.
Now, how hard is that to do?
They beat Maryland. They beat Wisconsin. They beat Rutgers on the road. So they've got some good quality wins under their belt. They're playing probably about as hot as anybody in the Big Ten right now. So I don't think the one thing I would say, I think if you're an Indiana fan, because Maryland's been so helter-skelter this season, I do feel like if you're Indiana, you probably would like Nebraska to win that game against Maryland, because then that means they're on day 3 and you're on day 1. So while they are playing really good basketball right now, you get to the point of fatigue. And I think that would play into Indiana's favor. Whereas if you're playing Maryland, it's just 2 days against 1 day, and they've got a game under their belt. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. I think that's going to be one of the better games. We got day 2. Michigan plays Rutgers. That could be a solid game. The game of the day to me on Thursday though is going to be Illinois Penn State. I think that could be a fabulous game.
Well, yeah, the reason we're talking about the Maryland game, because that is who is going to end up playing Indiana, or Indiana will end up playing. The winner of that Maryland versus the winner of the Nebraska, which I think Indiana could potentially end up playing Nebraska.
I do too.
Which would be fabulous for Indiana, because that would be Nebraska's.
It would be their third
game in a row. They're going to be tired. Indiana's going to be fresh. Boom, start off. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that's just guessing. That's all guessing. And so there's no point in that. But we'll find out today. And then, of course, the Big 12 tournament going on as well. Those games, there's actually a couple of good games. I think West Virginia plays today. Even though they're already – how many teams have ever played on the Wednesday of a conference tournament that were pretty much already guaranteed of being in the NCAA tournament?
That's a good question.
That's nuts.
Well,
because none of these teams that are playing in the Big Ten are playing in the NCAA tournament. I promise you.
Well, Wisconsin might, depending on how if they get 2 wins in the Big Ten tournament, they might. The other thing you got to remember though is,
they're not in the tournament today.
No, right. That's true.
West
That's a good point.
Virginia's in the tournament today.
Right. Yep.
That's what I was. And they're like, I don't know what their conference record is, but it's upside down. It's underwater.
Not good. 7-11. Texas Tech 5-13. Oklahoma 5-13. Oklahoma State 8-10. So there you go. Those are the 4 teams in action today.
Prior to Big Ten tournament action, I need to get Mike's bracketology pulled up. This is ESPN's bracketology. Currently has Indiana as the 4 seed, as most people do. This one has them in the Midwest, playing their first game in Orlando, but then they would head to Kansas City, which it's not terrible. Not terrible. I was certainly hoping for the South region, which would require them to play in either, Columbus or Greensboro, probably. That would be nice, because that would put them in Louisville for the Sweet 16,
right?
If that were to happen. But we'll see how it works out. What does Mike have? Well, I don't have Mike's. I'm trying to get Mike's pulled up. We have to see where he has them slotted in right now, just out of curiosity.
Well, the latest out of Mike DeCourcy, which was updated it looks like yesterday. I'm going through. Looks like South. Does he have them in the South? No, he's got them in the Midwest as a 4 seed against Iona, as John pointed out earlier. And then obviously that Kentucky VCU 5-12 game. So that would be the Kansas City. Now he doesn't have where they're, because I don't think the first 2 rounds, the location of the first 2 rounds, I don't think really has much bearing on where they play. They play those games anywhere.
Right now, ESPN has Iona in the East region, which geographically makes sense. Aren't they located in New York?
Iona?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah. We're having asking geography questions. This is tough for me.
ESPN has them playing UConn in the East, which geographically is, a perfect setup, and that's a 4-13 with UConn being the 4 and Iona being the 13. Nice little geographical layout. Unfortunately, they have Indiana playing Toledo and Kansas, not let's see. That's why. And ESPN has Xavier as a 4 seed slotted in the South region playing in Greensboro. Indiana has already played Xavier, so they would not put them up against them again this year. So if Xavier were to end up in the South, that would probably kick Indiana to the Midwest.
Yep.
Now that sucks. That's why there's so much that goes on to this, people, the placement of it. It's not just willy-nilly. They're trying to do the last several years they've tried to make it geographically better for fans, for teams, so it's not as expensive.
Right.
But then of course you get what we got last year, Indiana in the play-in game, and then 2 days later you were in Portland, Oregon.
Well, I mean that's Indiana's own fault for not playing better during the season.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Here's a surprise. No, it's not, I guess. Houston relegated to the East region as a number 1 seed.
Yep.
Kansas is the overall number 1 seed, so they get the Midwest. Is Alabama the number 2 seed?
Probably, yeah, I would think so. I mean, that's going to work out. I think it's going to work out pretty well, except for Houston. Oh no, so West you'd have UCLA out west in the East. Well, would you have Kansas in the East? Really? I don't know.
No,
I would think Kansas. I would think
Kansas
Kansas
is Midwest. Kansas is number 1 overall seed. They're going to be in the Midwest.
Period. I'm looking at what Mike DeCourcy has. Good friend of the show. He has UCLA in a 1 seed in the West. He has Kansas in a 1 seed in the East. He has Alabama in a 1 seed in the South, and Houston in the number 1 seed in the Midwest. So that's interesting because I would think you would probably flip-flop.
There's no way Kansas is the number 1 seed in the East. They're the number 1 overall seed.
I'm just telling you what I'm saying, or what I'm seeing, I should say.
I wish Mike was on with us today because I'd sure like to discuss that with him.
No. I mean, all this is probably gonna change in the next 4 or 5 days anyway. So,
well, of course it is, but there's no reason for Kansas to be ever in the East ever.
Right?
They're the number 1 overall seed. They're not getting moved out of the Midwest.
I wouldn't think so.
I don't know. I don't think a loss in the Big 12 tournament would even do that.
Probably depends on.
It could possibly take away their overall number 1 seed, but I still don't think they get moved out of the Midwest. They're not. They are not taking Kansas out of the Midwest. I'll tell you that right now.
I wouldn't think so. But
are you
never
kidding
know.
me? They're the reigning national champion. They're going to bring the fans. They are not taking Kansas out of the Midwest. Not going to happen. UCLA is going to be the number 1 seed in the West. It's just laying out perfectly. Then you've just got the Alabama Houston thing, which
Houston's going to end up getting to the East.
Houston's going to kind of get shafted because, it doesn't work out for them. But maybe, I don't know if that works out better for them with the draw that they'll end up getting.
That's a good question. I have no idea. I mean, I don't know that there's going to be a favorable draw because we don't know a lot about Houston.
I see. All right. Here's where I disagree with Mike. Is this The most updated one?
This says the one I'm looking at says it was updated yesterday.
Okay, here's what he has that's different. He's got Houston as the number 1 seed in the Midwest,
right?
Which tells me he has to have them as the overall number 1 seed, which there is no way in hell I'm giving that team an overall number 1 seed when they have not hardly played anyone. Kansas has played, I don't know, 25 quad 1 games.
A lot. Yes, a lot.
That's what makes it fun. We get to talk about it. And it's just beginning, people. Hey, while you're watching it all and having fun, don't forget about Hank's Pizza Mac. Just opened. Former Swing In Pizza here in Bloomington. The pizza's great, but they've got these incredible mac and cheese bowls that are, it's not mac and cheese, man. This is not your mama's mac and cheese. Polynesian mac, loaded potato mac, Southwest mac, Buffalo blazing mac, Memphis mac. I'm talking pulled pork, buffalo chicken, all kinds of great things. And easy to reach, 812-330-0000. That's easy. Man, it was a great day. Big thanks to Dustin, of course, Bob Kravitz, Cal Neddenriep, Rick Bozich, John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. But we are here, and it's going to be a rock and rolling time for the next month, baby. It's tournament time. Thanks a lot. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.